Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here. So today I have the final Destiny 2 build video for quite some time. Just two quick little announcements. First and foremost, the Dark Souls 3 anniversary stream will be happening. I will be starting it the weekend before the actual anniversary because the actual anniversary lies on like a Tuesday. Yeah, it's the 24th. So I will actually be streaming the 21st. The 21st, I have not decided an exact time yet. We will likely start at like 1 or 2 o'clock. It kind of depends. If Torchic doesn't work, then I'll start probably at 1 o'clock or something like that. If it does, I'll probably wait until a little bit later. But we will be streaming until we have beaten Dark Souls 3. All bosses, both DLCs. We will not be doing any sort of co-op or PvP shenanigans, because I want to avoid that, if at all possible. I will be playing online quite a lot, though, so I'm not going to be like playing offline or whatever. But I won't actively be participating in PvP necessarily. We will have a punishment wheel. Y'all will see that when the stream occurs. I might give some more details upon closer time. But yeah, we'll be streaming before Dark Souls 3's 10-year anniversary. So yeah, and then do expect I'm gonna try to. It's gonna take a long time to get everything downloaded, but I am gonna try to put out a video of condensing the moments of the Dark Souls 3 stream so that y'all don't necessarily miss it as well. If I would anticipate the stream being long, so just keep that in mind. It's gonna be a good stream. Y'all will be seeing my face. There will be a face cam. There will be a death counter. All that jazz. So pull up and chill with your boy. Second little announcement. I have decided that during this break I am going to be doing a little bit of Warframe. Um, I have recorded the first part already, but do expect that in the near future. But on that note, let's go ahead and get into the build here. So this is the Lightsaber build. Reveal the fashion for y'all. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Is it like scale of 1 through 10? Is it a good fashion? Just let me know. I finally made the no backup plans arms look decent. Well, there's the fashion for y'all. I will say, just to give you a little bit of tidbit, I did so just so y'all know, like there are quite a few builds that I do end up identifying as quote unquote failures due to them just not being good. One of them was this one for Kratos and everything, but the problem is like it's bad. It's really bad. Um, like I can't even get through an opening strike encounter solo with that build, because generally speaking, a lot of solar exotics are just not good. And pretty much all of them are terrible except for like a couple of them. But decided to do this lightsaber build instead. Now, first and foremost, looking at the subclass here, we're the usual suspects. We only have one super, but the usual suspects. We are using grapple, into the fray, banner of war, obviously, and using this one. Just using these mainly for the like finisher and threat links or whatever. These are good. I will say, if you're doing a ton of finishers, I would suggest you actually have on Thread of Evolution instead. But do keep in mind, again, with Strand, with Titan, you kind of need your melee slot a little more open to make full use out of it. So again, we're essentially using a skeleton version of Strand. And obviously, you also realistically would want to use a Strand weapon if it is a melee weapon, like we have a Strand sword here. But the lightsaber is kinetic. The lightsaber is kinetic. It does not change element depending on your super, which honestly, I would personally rather it do that instead of whatever else. But for the lightsaber, obviously I have to take in crystal. Y'all know I had to get that shit going. We're using offensive form here, mainly for the increased damage against bosses and vehicles, so you don't have to rely on a sword as much. And then we are using grip for a little bit extra endurance. And then we are using the gyro core. Throw damage from this weapon applies. The, like, sever in this case. This is what we want. This is what we want. I do recommend if you're using this on stasis or solar, I would generally recommend impact core instead of gyro core. Because those melee, so you're going to be doing those melee swings a lot faster. So, and what our purpose here is we're throwing the lightsaber ahead of us so that damage deal less damage to us. And then for their catalyst, we're doing grants health regeneration based on number of targets hit by the thrown sword. We're mainly going to be throwing this thing, not either meleeing as much. We're more so throwing this bad boy. So there is that. Now for our heavy weapon, we are using the new 86 sword. I do have the Taken shader on this bad boy, but which does look clean. The one we are using is Attrition Orbs and Tireless Blade. In my opinion, I would recommend having a strand. You need to have a strand sword equipped with this build. Mainly because, especially if you're using something like, if you're wanting to do more threatening shenanigans and mostly using lightsaber as like a DPS type deal, I would recommend having like an ad clear strand sword specifically. Also, it's going to help out a little bit. But we have Attrition Orbs on this thing because Attrition Orbs on swords is actually really, really solid. So just keep that in mind here. Especially when you run out of Praxic Blade ammo. Now, our other weapon, I'm using this Pulse Rifle. It's a Arc Rocket Pulse Rifle. We have Reverberation and Rolling Storm, which is actually pretty solid here. Again, it's one of those use case things, but the main thing here is Wild Card. Wild Card is a really, really good origin trait. It's a really good origin trait. Then I just have Stability and Aerodynamics with this part. This stuff isn't super duper important. I will say, if you want to use your melee a little bit more and not, because you have to have some semblance of distance with this build, and that's what this Pulse Rifle offers, I would recommend rocking a 1-2 punch, and maybe rocking a Strand LMG in the heavy slot. But just understand that your shotgun and your lightsaber are your 2 damage weapons. Your machine gun is more of your closer to ad clear when you run out of lightsaber ammo, so just keep that in mind there. Now, for the artifact, all of this is pretty much useless. Except we are doing this, but this doesn't matter, though. Not that much. Elemental Siphon is going to matter a little bit with the kinetic weapon. We're going to be generating tangles with this. It is important that we interact with tangles, so do keep that in mind. And then the last one that we're using is Sword Storm combo. 3 lights and a heavy. 3 lights and a heavy. That's also why we're using a sword as our heavy as well. Which is why I decided not to go shotgun LMG for that reason as well. Now, in terms of champions, we are able to deal with overloads because of this Pulse Rifle as well, so that is something to keep in mind. And Barrier, we don't need that because we have thing that does it, but also we have Praxic Blade, which is intrinsically anti-barrier. A lot of these solo ops activities have overload and barrier in them, so just keep that in mind. Now, in terms of the armor set bonus, we are using the Bushido set, obviously. Now, this one does say, though the 2-piece doesn't really matter as much, final blows with freshly drawn reloaded weapons heal you. To be honest, this 2-piece set is kind of weak. In my opinion, it's a little bit on the weaker side. But the 4-piece set, bow, shotgun, or sword final blows temporarily reduce incoming damage. Damaging targets with those weapons extends the effect. Obviously, we are using swords, so that reducing damage is extremely important here. Now, in terms of stats here, weapon is most important. Do I recommend you have it super high, though? No, not necessarily. Your class needs to be low, though. You're not using your class ability. I don't have the perfect armor rolls to really, especially for legs, I don't have god rolls to allow that to happen. Grenade does not need to be higher than 70. It does not. So your grapple grenade, you're not using it for damage. You're using it for strictly for that. Also, your melee, I also only really recommend having at 70. You don't really need it to do extra damage necessarily, because the exotic we are using. I would recommend Super being your number 2 choice, because Super is honestly really good on Titan. So it also has a little bit of range to it. Now, the exotic we are using is Wishful Ignorance. Gain an additional Frenzy Blade charge, Frenzy Blade, and Flechette Storm. But anyways, but pulses from your Banner of War return melee energy based on the number of allies healed. That part's not important, but the additional Frenzy Blade charge is nice. And the Frenzy Blade, briefly increasing their damage with each strike. It honestly does make it output quite a bit of damage, honestly. So that is something to keep in mind here. That is also helpful if you have 1-2 punch. If you have 1-2 punch, I would recommend 1-2 punch, then melee 4 times. Just so that first shot, just so that first melee has that big boy damage, and then those subsequent things will catch back up. We'll catch back up to it. However, if you don't want to use this, I wanted to avoid using it for this build, but Armentarium is very, very solid as well. I don't necessarily actually recommend running Grapple Grenade with this. I would recommend running Shackle Grenade, so you have 2 shackles, which would be very, very nice. Now going into, because you know what kind of sucks? A lot of weapon mods are kind of just the samey now. It's kind of disappointing. But in terms of our actual things here, we have Special Ammo Finder on, Super Font, obviously, and Kinetic Siphon. Again, the Lightsaber does not count as a straight up. It's only kinetic, despite it having different subclass effects. I would like this to change in the future, but I would nerf the Lightsaber by nerfing its damage a little bit, but I would let it change its element depending on the super. And then obviously we are using Melee Font and Heavy-Handed. We're using Heavy-Handed because every so often we will be swapping to our melee to get those kills. Lucent Blade is important. I would heavily recommend Charged Up, and we're going with Concussive Dampener here because when you're up close to bosses, a lot of bosses have a stomp that will leave a fire pole at their feet. This helps out to where you're not going to be absolutely getting nuked. I would suggest if a boss stomps and has like a fire pole at its feet, swap to the heavy sword. Or you could also have sniper damage resist on here. I would recommend sniper or concussive here. Then obviously we have the usual suspects here. The boots and class item are the exact same no matter what. But with this build, we're going to go into a solo op and see what we can do there. Okay, everyone, so we are going to be doing the Creation Strike. Well, not Strike, the Creation Solo Op. We are going to do this at Grandmaster difficulty and not Ultimate, because, again, I don't know if many of y'all are even at Ultimate difficulty. Can this build survive in Ultimate? Yes. Would I recommend using this setup for Ultimate? Not necessarily when you're running solo, but we are going to do Grandmaster here. We're going to be doing Rage in Healing. We are doing Counterfeit. Unfortunately, there is no promotion, which is my favorite modifier, but it hasn't really been there for the last few build things that I've done. So there's that. But everything else, we're leaving plain. Again, there is special ammo increase, but we're not going to use that because y'all kind of need to see how this build operates. But we are going to go ahead and launch this. Again, this is going to be Grandmaster, because Grandmaster is where I think the general player base on average is going to be. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of people in Ultimate, and yes, there's going to be a ton of people lower. But in my opinion, if you have played this game pretty regularly, you should be at around Grandmaster at this point. Especially if you have been playing since Edge of Fate dropped, you should be at Ultimate like long before this point. But especially if you've been doing your dailies and whatnot.
You're up, Guardian.
And one of Strantine's most biggest problems is being stationary. So I think this is a good showcase to show. First off, the range on this thing is quite large. And of course we can really pro this thing. Do keep in mind that we don't have a ton of ammo. So we are going to have to go out at points. Try to find a little bit of ammo. And we're trying not to. But we do get some ammo based on a target's hit. So And by the way, when you already have bolt charge, you do gain more for killing targets. So that is something to keep in mind. So you really only need this pulse rifle to start up the bolt charge. A little bit of heavy ammo. That's fake special. Again, your weapon stat does need to be at 100. Your weapon stat needs to be at 100. Because ammo is definitely a struggle. Okay. That's fake. This is fake too. Okay, well, do we really not have any... No special? Oh wait, we're close to getting special to drop, so... Oh! Hello! Thank you! Bada bing, bada boom. Got that beautiful tangle. We are gonna try to save up and stack our heavy. Thought I saw, is this a special ammo? Yeah, it is, okay. We're gonna use up quite a bit of our ammo. Can we shoot that all the way over? Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think it reaches all the way that far. So we just grab that ammo. Oop. Woo! Y'all saw I had to collect that orb. Oh! Almost fell through a hole, but that's okay. We just need to stun him. We're missing 3. Okay. Beautiful. We're gonna take care of this thing up here. That Cyclops will nuke us. Woo! Beautiful. Again, those fanatics or whatever, they're not going to actually be dealing that much damage to us because, you know, we have that concussive dampener on. And we still have plenty of ammo. No, I haven't showcased a sword that much necessarily. I'm going to try my best to showcase it here. Because obviously I've seen the pulse rifle in action, you know, gotta see the sword in action. Is that a Trojan orbs is no joke. We are going to get Banner of War started, though. I just recommend light attacking with this to kind of try to save up on ammo. Throw that shit. Oh, that throw. We have our super back. We're still good on ammo. We're still good on ammo. Let's detonate that. I actually do enjoy this setup on the lightsaber. I just really haven't been able to use it much because obviously I have to keep Legend of Acrid as my #1 exotic weapon choice. But the lightsaber is super fun. And especially, like, finally we have, like, a way to just proc Banner of War at a distance. That's just huge. That is so huge. And there's a nice Grandmaster solo wop done and dusted. We're not gonna be getting anything actual worthy of loot here,
Pretty clear the Guardian is fine on their own, but it would be nice to have more light bearers for these missions.
Yeah, lightsaber is honestly super fun. I enjoy it. Do I think it could be better? Yes. Obviously, being able to the element matching your super would be absolutely phenomenal, and honestly would help out a lot with trying to make it work properly in builds. Because right now, it kind of just doesn't work as well, at least on Titan. On Titan. On Titan. Let me just preface that. On Titan, it doesn't work as well as like other exotics do. Like on, say for instance, on Void. On Void. If you want to use this on Void. On Titan, realistically, you should be using Tractor Cannon if you want an exotic that weakens. You should be using Tractor Cannon. Tractor Cannon, I believe, is a stronger version of Weaken, to my knowledge. Also, the Praxis Blade Weaken does not last as long as Tractor's does. So, that's why, like, if y'all were here back in the old days, well, not old days, but during the Tractor Doomfang Pauldrons meta, yeah, it would not have worked with the lightsaber. That's why I don't use Void when I use this lightsaber. For Warlocks, it's really solid. For a Hunter, especially because it applies that weaken debuff first, which is super huge. Like, if you're a Hunter or whatnot, throw that lightsaber out, bada bing, bada boom, instant invis. It's fucking insane. But on Titan relies a lot on using weapon types of the same element. Like for Arc, for instance, you gain no benefit. For, like, Bolt Charge is just there. For Solar, you really should be using a Solar weapon for the most part. But Strand, you just need to use a sword. Strand Time doesn't benefit as much from using a strict Strand weapon. Also, something to keep in mind here is, due to me having Kinetic Siphon on, the lightsaber does generate orbs. The sword does not on kills. However, it will because of attrition orbs. So, let me know what y'all think in the comments below. There will be no more build videos until we get updates or whatever. Legend of Acrid, I'm gonna stay hands off the game. Not just because, you know, that nothing's going on in Destiny 2, but also I need Legend of Acrid to stay as my #1 exotic. So we can get that little update. They put Eververse in. Okay. I didn't know they put Eververse in the fucking portal. even though Lawless Frontier, it says it's only around for 7 days, I don't know if they plan on updating this or if they're releasing the new pass at the same time. I really don't know what's happening here. To be fair, I don't really care about the rest of this. I don't care about any of this, basically. Um, like, I already have the catalyst and stuff. I never plan on using that LMG, so I'm not going to finish the pass or whatever. But, yeah, I need Legend of Accuracy to remain number 1 for quite some time. For quite some time. If Bungie releases any major TWABs or tweets or whatever, I will be covering those. I will be covering those. So stay tuned to the channel. I will be covering major ones. Major ones. Obviously, based on what DMG has said, they are just posting nothing TWABs. They have mentioned community challenges or whatnot. I do not plan on participating in any of those. Yeah, I do not plan on participating in any of those. When we get an actual proper roadmap as far as what's coming, I am going to decide, how I'm going to handle Destiny 2 properly at that point. Am I likely going to drop Destiny 2? Yes. However, I might be planning a little bit of a raid and dungeon thing as far as setting up a temporary clan. I have a running name in the works for the clan, but I might start a temporary. It is going to be a temporary clan, a hard temporary clan. No matter what, it will be a temporary clan where myself and if I get some other folks that want to participate in that, I can. But we will be sherpering people through raids, teaching raids and dungeons. Also, there are some raids that I need to learn still. There's really only one raid I need to learn still. I need to learn Salvation's Edge still. But I'm going to have to push myself to get through that. And some dungeons I'm a little bit iffy on the knowledge for. But I will be setting up a temporary clan. It will be in April. So, not April, in June. That's when I will be setting it up. Like, after the loot has refreshed so that there's some new, gear for people. When that stuff comes out, I am going to be making a spreadsheet for everybody as far as all of the raid loot, their roles. I'm going to highlight what I personally believe to be god roll combinations and good roll combinations. I'm going to be doing all of that for y'all come June. Obviously I am going to be doing Pantheon, but yeah, as sort of like a pseudo Age of Triumph. So if y'all want to stick around for that, I do plan on doing that in June. After Pantheon's release, and especially like after the raid loot is refreshed, because obviously a lot of that stuff is going to be outdated when all that loot is refreshed. On that note, though, I do appreciate y'all for watching. If y'all stuck around for Destiny 2, I appreciate y'all. If y'all followed me for Destiny 2 initially and have stuck around for other content I've kind of been doing, I appreciate y'all as well. Appreciate y'all for, come along with this journey for me. Is it gonna end? I don't know, but it's highly likely. As far as the length of time that I might do that little clan thing, I'm going to say a couple months. I'm gonna say a couple months, but I might do it at least all the way through June, probably all the way through July. I will probably stop sometime in August. That's where I'll come up with an official date to end the temporary clan. No matter what, it will be a temporary clan. If, Destiny, 2 comes back and comes roaring back, at that point, what I will do is I will just be like, hey, we established this as a temporary clan. However, if you're interested, I might set up a different clan, or I might recommend some clans for, y'all to peruse. And so, on that note, though, I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I will catch y'all on the flip side.